Mark Twain once called the word kindness, he said, kindness is a language that the deaf can hear and the blind can read. St. Francis de Sales said it in kind of a different way, but I think it's the same message. A spoonful of honey gets more flies than a barrel full of vinegar. Kindness is lacking in our society today. Simple kindness. And we see the kindness in the gospel today when this man who was born, he couldn't hear. Not only was it a physical defect in him, but it was also a sociological, that he was isolated from the community. They didn't have things with ear helps and ear aids and all of those kinds of things. They didn't even have a universal sign language. So the person was isolated, often from the community, but also sometimes from its own family. And so it was very difficult time. And so Jesus knew that. And so when Jesus called this man, when these people brought this man to Jesus, Jesus knew he had to feel uncomfortable. All these people are surrounding him. He can't communicate. He doesn't know what they're saying. He has no sense of what's going on. And so Jesus says, I'll take you apart. So he takes him apart from the crowd. And he doesn't know, he knows language is not going to be possible there except the language of touch. And so he took the man, put his arm around him, touched his ears, touched his tongue, and the man was healed. A simple act of kindness is what Jesus asked of us. And I think in our world today, we're filled with so much violence, political vendetta, suspicions, and racism. We need a spoonful of kindness. Just some simple ideas. Maybe a smile for the checkout cashier at Martin's. A thank you for the person that holds the door for you at Myers or Walmart. A wave to the police officer you see pass by. A phone call to a shut-in who might live alone. A compliment to a waitress or waiter who serves your food at a local restaurant. A spontaneous hug for your loved ones. Maybe even some flowers for no reason. Then you appreciate that person. Little acts of kindness. Whether we're at work or play, whether we organize or create, whether we advise or guide others, we should not forget to follow the example of Jesus in today's gospel. Sensitive to the burdens of others. And I'll end with this little story. It's a true story. One afternoon in 2015, a car bomb exploded in a commercial district of Baghdad. 10 people were killed and many, many more were injured. Unfortunately, these kinds of attacks were very common in the Iraqi capital. But there was something unusual that happened that day. As the police and medical personnel were cordoning off the area, a man appeared in a black suit. His long hair was combed back. He unfolded a small chair and sat down in the midst of this carnage. Then in the midst of all of that, he began to play his cello. The man was Karim Wasfi. He was the conductor of the Iraqi National Symphony Orchestra. He was there that afternoon because he had decided he'd seen enough. And he wanted to introduce humanity and beauty into the scenes of violence that his city was experiencing. And he said, I quote, "There are many people in Iraq who would turn every facet of our lives into a war zone. But I choose to turn every corner I can into a spot of civility, beauty, and compassion." As Mr. Wasfi played his cello, something incredible happened. People stopped. Sirens were silenced, and everyone began to listen. Many cried tears because for a moment there was peace. Some began to pray in gratitude for that moment of civility. This image of a beautiful music being performed in a scene of destruction captures, at least in part, the ministry of Jesus. That Jesus wants our world, even though in its dark moments, to be filled with civility and hope and compassion and kindness. Whether it is a musician playing the cello or a spoonful of honey to someone in need of kindness, we as Christians can choose to bring beauty and goodness to situations of suffering and people without hope. And every time we take a stand for dignity and love and kindness, we not only lift up others, we also take up Jesus' mission to manifest God's love to the world. Our world needs a little spoonful of honey.